All right, I'm going to push a button.
Brought to you by some guys on the internet.
This is Getting Tabled.
With your hosts Jason the Bruce,
You guy!
George the Yang,
I hope you are all entertained by my inaptitude.
Jason aka Major Socks.
We've been doing this and talking about various stuff. One of the stuff.
Now sit back, relax, and get tabled.
Hello, future people, and welcome to episode 115 of Getting Tabled with your host, the Bruce.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to another fortnight. What's a fortnight? It's 2 weeks, and it's a better word than what you guys use over there. And the two gentlemen here agree with me.
Gentlemen?
Have you changed your mind, Socks? Don't you like Fortnite anymore?
I think there's only one gentleman, and that might be me. Because George is definitely not a gentleman.
Speaking of, the other person in this podcast that's hired for their brain, I say hired, none of us get any money for this, because it's certainly not George, it's Major Socks.
Hey, I actually get introduced this week, unlike last time. Yes.
I love the fact that you didn't even notice that until I told you later.
And we got George back from South Dakota playing golf and trying to play golf.
I almost fell face first in a tee box, just FYI.
I would have liked to have seen that.
Lots of people would have. That's why I managed to stop myself. Real quick, some business to get out of the way. This episode is sponsored by Valhalla Hobby. Use code GT2305 to get 5% off any order over $100 at checkout. That is GT2305 at valhallahobby.com.
Thank you, as always, to our Patreons that help support the channel. And of course to Valhalla Hobby as well. More about all of those towards the end. Let's get into the news, shall we?
Newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events.
And we are starting with a Kickstarter project that has 12 days to go at time of recording. So we already kind of knew this was coming. We touched on it very briefly after it was teased. But Worms the board game is on Kickstarter right now. A couple of things. Firstly, it's being done in 6 different languages from the outset, which is not something... English, so translations usually tends to be something that's unlocked later. They're doing no stretch goals in this at all. They're just announcing things as the campaign goes once a day. Which I think I like that difference. Basically, it means that it, regardless, it just gets better as you go. This funded, instantly, too. It was insane.
It is Worms. I mean, it is as classic
chaos
as the Oregon Trail. I mean...
Yeah. So the game...
Yes.
There is a few videos out there at the moment. The game is very chaotic, as it should be. The tile system, you are flipping them to have the water underneath. Weapons will do damage to the ground and then they will collapse. One thing that's interesting, everybody has their teams that they put out, so to speak, and you get to pick where things are, so you could put things next to weapon crates to help yourself out or next to traps, whatever you want. Because the thing is that the worms that you're deploying may not actually end up being on your team. That's not decided until later. So the chaos from the way the game starts carries on into the game itself as well. I really, really like that. Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
Also, yes, I am pledging for this, but it's actually really affordable. The Mayhem Pledge, which is your normal one, comes with pretty much everything. If you want the Armageddon Pledge, that comes with a few extras. That comes with your playmat and, where are we? You get some extra landscape tiles. There's a dice tray. The mat isn't neoprene one, just for the record. You get extra dice as well. There's our pledge comparison. So it will be coming to retail late next year. At retail, you will have 16 worms, but only 4 sculpts. In the base pledge, you're getting 45 worms in all sculpts. It doesn't actually say how many sculpts there are, but that's because it will show you that during the campaign. And the Armageddon pledge has exactly the same amount of worms, exactly the same amount of objects. It still comes with the 5th and 6th player expansion, which does not come at retail. I assume they'll do that as a pledge later on, at a separate release later on.
So here's something interesting I've noticed that I think is kind of cool. So if you scroll down enough towards the bottom, it looks like for additional £8, so roughly $10 ish, for additional £8, you can add a language pack to the game.
Yeah, so you could just you can purchase the language pack that you want. It's certainly a lot easier to keep track of from their point of view, I would say.
Well, no, that looks like to me is like you do the pledge, and then for an extra, you get an additional language pack.
Yeah.
Looks like it comes with English, but then, like George said, pay your £8, you get your French pack, you get your Spanish pack, whatever you want.
As opposed to it being completely re-released later on, it makes it easier for them to actually keep track of it.
Well, it also makes sense for a lot of international players too. Like take Michelle for example, right? In the Netherlands, they start learning English in grade school, so there's all these other different languages, and so in the case of United States, well, I've got a lot of friends that speak Spanish, so I'm going to get the Spanish pack as well, so that my friends don't have to struggle with the English translation to play the game with me.
That's actually a really good idea.
That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, but especially like if you do live in a country that has a lot of multilingual, I mean there is a bit of it in Australia, but not really one that because we have quite a large Asian community, we have quite a large Afrikaans community. We are very multicultural over here. Australia and it's kind of a global thing. It used to be very much Australia and America, but I think Australia complains about it more than anybody else does.
Just as a prime example, we're the two languages of Canada. Like it has legit two languages, English and French.
Yep.
Like so.
I really like this.
If that's how it's set up, I think that's a really nice addition of like a couple extra bucks. Here's the the language wording in a different language. Now I'm just gonna throw this in there after doing a few board games. If there's a neoprene mat, get it.
Yeah.
If it's $20, don't complain, get it. The neoprene mat makes the play surface so much better when you're dealing with tokens and cards. It makes it easier to pick up tactile objects versus like having to pick at them off of a hard tabletop surface.
Yeah, no, 100%. I am only on the base pledge at this particular stage. That will most likely get upped at some point. But yeah, this is really, really good. I love how chaotic it feels. I love, like, I've kind of been someone that's kind of spoken highly about Mantic's sculpting for a while. They do have some stuff that's kind of like, because it's a little older, but the stuff they're doing now is phenomenal, and I think this is right up there with the best that they're doing. You could probably argue that sculpting for worms is probably a little easier because it's all cartoony, but...
Yeah, I was going to say that it shouldn't be that hard. Another thing the estimate they're doing for shipping prices are extremely reasonable.
And Mantic are a company that's big enough that they already know the answer to this question, so that there shouldn't really, unless we have another shipping crisis between now and when it comes, there shouldn't be any reason for this to
change,
yeah.
For the audio listeners, the most expensive shipping is for the Armageddon pledge at £45. That's British money, not actual weight. Which, if you think about it, depending on how much the box weighs and then the size of the playmat, that's a pretty reasonable shipping price for anywhere in the world.
Australia,
Australia's at 25, New Zealand's 35. Everyone else is like 25 or lower.
Yeah,
I mean, that is cheap.
Yep.
And
for Australian shipping, that is phenomenal.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the world of a certain company exploiting shipping to gain extra money to fulfill
Not that we're going
outstanding
to name
campaigns.
any names. Are we going to Mythic Games? You scammer. You scam artist company, you.
I'm about to stop just doing the Mythic Games and just start calling out Leo himself. Like, if you're the cheese of the company and you're doing this, man, you're the one that stinks, which is appropriate since they're French.
I don't know if we have any French listeners, but if we did, we don't anymore.
That, or they 100% agree with that statement, and they're going to accept that United States stereotype. I do apologize to actual French listeners, though.
So you
Not to
should.
Leo.
Quite frankly, you should. All right, moving on. Nova Open happened. Well, is happening. It's got one more day left, I believe.
Hello,
No.
everyone.
Oh, it's Games Workshop? They do things?
They do. They had another preview, and you're going to be really surprised. They've previewed some Space Marines.
What?
I
Are they
know.
firstborns?
No. I don't know
They're
if we
not
actually...
firstborns?
No, I don't know if we actually touched... Technically, some of the Terminators are, technically. I don't know if we... Did we speak about that last fortnight, Socks?
Well, so...
I don't think we do.
I don't think we do.
So
I don't
yeah,
think we
for
do.
those of you that haven't heard this already and have been living under
or
a
have been
rock...
under a rock. So, Bruce, real quick, though. There are like 4 different types of Terminators, though. There's the Cataphracti and the blah, blah, blah. So there's multiple different types of Terminators. But, as he was about to say, for those who have been living under a rock, shocker, firstborns are dead.
Oh no, we did cover this. It was the episode you were
Oh,
with.
yeah,
It was
we
you
did,
and me.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
we
so-
had basically said that, like, to be fair, they should have done this to start with. There would have been
Hey,
a lot
Socks.
less unhappy people.
Yes.
Firstborn Marines are dead, FYI, if you didn't know.
Okay. Sorry, Games Workshop fans.
By the way, Socks, given that this is
Yes.
the topic that you are most excited about, tell us how excited you are about this chaplain. Now look at the confused look at his face as he tries to figure out which one's the chaplain.
Thanks, Bruce.
Okay, I think the chaplain being the very first one with the skull face, I think is the highlight here. I've had other people that don't really like it. I really do like it, honestly.
Isn't that a Terminator chaplain?
Yes,
Okay.
hence why it's big and chunky. We're also getting new assault marines. I'm sure they have different names.
Needed.
Yes, they did
Needed.
need them. And after
Needed.
all of we don't have any jump packs yet because we want to design new jump packs. They're just the same jump packs that everybody else has already had. So they were delayed
they
for no
though?
reason. Yeah, it's basic. Oh, sorry. No, I stand corrected. There's a very slight fin
No.
coming out the back of it.
No, they're different. They are different, Bruce. They're not. They don't look as lame. How do I put it that way?
Lame.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I will take that back. No, you are right. They're a little bit more rounded. They're not quite as boxy as the old ones were.
Yeah. Well, the other ones is just like it's 2 just massive pods. Like this one, it's like they're angled slightly. They do have the trim fins. Like these are a slightly better design. Then the next thing I'm going to throw out there, which has been sorely missed by so many factions for Space Marines with the death of the first ones, chain swords.
And welcome to
Sorry, repeat that last bit again.
Chain swords. Primaris Marines have never had chain swords up until the death of the firstborns, and now we have chain swords again.
I hadn't actually cottoned onto that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, all the Reavers, they all had daggers or whatever. Like everything Primaris wise, none of them. They always had like a power sword or something else, but they did not have chain swords, to my knowledge. If I'm wrong, someone semi-politely correct me, but I do believe chain swords were not a thing until now for Primaris.
I'm actually in the comments. The other one is, which is the big news, is that we're getting new Space Marine Scouts as well. This is definitely something that was being missed. They tried to replace them with the Reavers, and it just didn't work because they weren't the same.
Well, so the Reavers were more of like it was a different type of assault marine. It was like they were trying to make the Reavers be the new Primaris assault marine, and they sucked at it.
Well, the issue was, so early on, but during the first wave, they decided that Reavers were going to be a new type of Space Marine Scout. And they very clearly changed their mind after that first wave, which is why all of the rules for them ever since have always been completely garbage, because they very clearly wanted to phase them out without admitting it. I love the look of the new Scouts. I mean, they basically look the same as the old ones, just embiggened. But the old ones were very old, so they needed to be updated desperately.
New sculpts, obviously, so,
yes,
a refresh look, not just, bigger. I do like the look of them. However, in all my times playing 40K, I never really got the, draw for Scouts. Maybe it's because I'd never played a chapter that, fully benefited from Scouts, but...
Sniper rifles was usually my answer to that question. But it depended on the edition as well. I think they were very powerful in 8th. I haven't really played since, so... Yeah. I also don't care enough to really have a strong opinion.
That being said, though, too, I don't know about Sniper Scouts now that we have the Primaris Snipers, because they are kind of bomb diggity, especially depending on the faction.
Hello, everyone!
Every time I move backwards in this page, it starts trying to play the video on me again, and it's really annoying. Moving on.
This Games Workshop wants you to watch their video.
Apparently.
Over and over.
We've also got a brand new Troggoth coming. I'm sorry, it's a troll. I'm just going to call it a troll because Troggoth is a stupid name. The Troggoth King. Hang on, he has a name here somewhere. Trug. How did I forget that? So this guy has been asleep for millennia to the point where people have been building buildings on his back. Somebody woke him up and he can't figure out how to get this magical thing off his back, and now he's wandering around and smashing magical items all over the world. I kind of like that idea. And so you've got the usual unknown in Warhammer as to, well, is he doing this because he wants to destroy them all, or is it because the building that's magic is trying to convince him to do this? We don't really know.
Hey.
I like the giant snail hammer.
Hey. He's got a butt crack.
Yes, he does. Most people do.
Yeah, but okay, it's visible.
Yes,
it's a visible butt crack.
He also has tattoos, you'll notice. I like the fact that somebody has been, cave art all over him. That I really like.
So here's my thing with trolls. Coming from a D&D background. What's the one thing that just, completely makes a troll useless? Fire. As something that's supposed to be big, huge, and almighty powerful like this is, if they don't have, some stupid weakness to fire, because any intellectual property, if you look at a troll, it's like, oh, and then they lit him on fire. Oh, problem solved. No, I don't. They should have done keep the name Trug. That's a great name for something big and stupid.
Oh yeah. Oh, but he's the smartest. He's the smartest of the trolls. He says this himself. It also says in the rules here that he's only dimly aware of the hollering hordes that trail behind him.
I mean, that's not saying much. I could say I'm the most handsome host of Getting Tabled, and that doesn't mean much.
It's also a lie. Major Socks is sitting right there. What? It's not me.
Anyways.
Well, but he doesn't have a beard, and beards are,
I can't have one. What do you expect?
That's your choice. That's choices you've made. Unless you're one of those people who can't actually grow one. I do know people like that.
Yes.
Major Socks has multiple pieces of evidence that his wife finds him very attractive. How many parasites are in your house now?
5.
That's 4 more than George has, and one of those is only there half the time.
I've got 8 parasites. What are you talking about?
They are not the same.
I have to clothe them. Well, I don't have to clothe them. I have to feed them, and I have to care for them, and I have to give them shelter. That is a parasite.
So what you're telling me is that your dogs are evidence that Casey finds you attractive.
She trusts me with hers, so yes.
Socks, do you get why I'm phrasing it very carefully? Oh, dear. George. Anyway, I like this guy. I think this guy is fun. I'm sure he'll cost
He's all right.
$760 million like the rest of the Trogoths do. What else did we have? I'm kind of skimming through this. We have quite a few Iron Jaws, which I don't mind. But there was a time where the Iron Jaws were kind of being pushed out every 3 minutes and I got tired of them. But they've actually given these guys a rest, which is very unusual. I like the Brute Rages. They're fun. That's probably the highlight there for me. I don't really know if you guys have any particular opinions on them. By the way, on the page that I've shared, if you click on the images, it will actually show more information.
I actually skipped ahead a little bit. I'm looking at the Warcry Hunter and Hunted.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And I have to say... Oh, wait, no. Dang it. Debut artwork. I was going to say, that is probably one of the best looking dog miniatures I have ever seen until I actually looked at the actual miniatures. And it's just the artwork.
I don't hate it. I don't think that... The actual humans are painted rather nicely, but I think that dog is painted really poorly. In the case of the first one, at least.
Well,
the other ones aren't so bad, but that first one, the lightly coloured one, that looks like it's been painted it looks like it's been done in a rush.
Well, the jowls are just terribly done. Of the one that has like the 4 dogs, like the top center, that one looks okay. The other 3,
I don't mind the sculpt of the Doberman, but I have a problem with the fact that it looks like it's made out of plastic because they've messed up their highlights. Really, they've given everything sharp highlights, which is really weird looking. I mean, I know what they're trying to do, but it's an animal. It shouldn't have sharp lines like that. I mean, I'm not exactly the world's greatest painter either, so maybe I should be quiet. I think the highlight of this box, ironically, is the giant skull piece of terrain.
Yes.
That is awesome.
It has, if you look at the top down, it has a slight resemblance to a certain pit on a certain planet that consumed a certain bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't actually consume him, but he did get sucked into it twice.
It attempted to consume him, and he escaped because he's a badass.
As for the trolls that come in the box, that's kind of or the ogres. Sorry, that question is kind of the only thing. I don't really find them very interesting at all, really. I just
they feel very late 90s, early 2000s with all the subcutaneous piercings going on.
Yeah, I think the color choices leave a lot to be desired there. That the skin is just, it looks odd.
I think it looks great.
You think it looks great?
Yeah, I think it looks great. The thing I have an issue with is, like, if you look at the one, he's got 3 horns piercing his thigh. The next one, he's got it all in his forearms and his thigh. And then, like, the other one, it's in his shoulders and it's all over the place. Like suspension, that's what it was called. They look like they're, rejects from the late 90s doing suspension.
Yeah, it's a thing. I mean, it's kind of the look of that faction, but yeah, they don't really do much for me. If you don't want to buy the box set, don't stress. These will eventually be released as separate things, but then you'll have to pay for everything separately. But if you don't want to buy a box and you don't like half of it, whether it be the ogres or whether it be the hunters and their dogs, just wait for them to be released separately. Don't let fear of missing out dictate what you buy.
No FOMO.
Pretty much. We've also got some new Blood Bowl minis. We've got some vampires, and I'm kind of in the middle on these. There's certainly sculpts among this that I like, but there's also other ones where I'm kind of like, It kind of feels like that they're trying too hard. But then maybe that's the fun of them. I don't know. I can't really decide what I think about these guys. Also, they've got the same picture up multiple times.
Really quick,
I noticed that too.
Really quick, so we can move on. Can we talk about the new Bretonian miniature real quick?
Yep, don't worry. I was getting there. Let's talk about She-Ra. Because I'm sorry, this is... This is... Oh, by the way, this is also a Forge World mini, so prepare to be disappointed when it comes out in person.
Oh...
Yeah, I'm throwing shade at Forge World again. I'm going to continue doing it.
I need to add that to the soundboard.
What, the the painting on this and the sculpting on this is phenomenal. I think this is the best looking, I'm going to say, horse that they've done so far. I know it's a unicorn, but it's a horse with a horn. I think it's the best looking horse that they've done so far. Hopefully it actually comes out looking like this.
It's a horse that got jiggy with a narwhal.
Pretty much. The painting on this is phenomenal. Like, seriously, this is hard. This is what were they called?
Heavy metal.
Heavy metal. Thank you.
If you scroll down enough, like you can see some of the original sculpts,
Yeah,
versus this new one to see like just how epic this looks. So,
and there is some very, very strong callbacks to that original as well. But yeah, no, this would have to be up there for Miniature of the Year Games Workshop wise. I'm not 100% sure what else I'd put in there, but this has definitely got to be among them.
So, the last thing for Games Workshop that I really want to touch on, because this is exciting, because not because I'm a huge, like, I still like Warhammer, I still like 40K, I still like the whole thing. This new miniature right here is just absolutely just what people have been waiting for, in my opinion. It is Fulgrim.
Yeah, there's a problem with this miniature, though.
What?
This is 30k only. You're not getting any rules for 40k.
Yet.
No, they've hard said it. They've said it out. They've said it hard.
Oh, that is complete crap. If you're going to have a demon...
Sorry, reportedly they have said that hard. And I agree, that's a load of crap.
I'm sorry, we got Nurgle, we've got Zinch, we've got Korn now. Just
he hasn't appeared in the story, but he quite clearly is still around. I have another problem with this. If this is for 30k, why is he already a demon prince? Or am I missing something in the story?
Well, that was all happening, in the whole...
Okay.
Like, yeah, like, things were happening. Like, Magnus the Red, like, he, accepted chaos and did the whole thing. Like, yes, he's emerged from the warp now, changed. Same with Nurgle. Same with Angron. So, Fulgrim was one of the first ones to, like, kind of like, oopsie.
That's why. Okay, that makes more sense.
So,
the other problem I have with this is that this is also going to be Forge World. So everybody else has gotten lovely plastic miniatures, and this one's going to be stuck with the horrible Forge World stuff. That's disappointing.
Well, that we know of, as they have said it's not in 40k yet, or it's not 40k. I do believe the fact that now Games Workshop has a Horus Heresy tab on the Games Workshop page, I hope you can click on that, and eventually there's going to be a plastic Fulgrim kit, because this kit needs to be plastic, because this kit looks so good that it can just hang around for a long time, in my opinion. Just some of the details on it. If you scroll down a little close up on the cloak, some of the details on the cloak, like skinned faces.
The wings are phenomenal too. Those wings will never, like in resin, those wings will never survive a game. Like they're going to be way too brittle.
If those wings are in resin, they'll never survive casting. Fight me on that.
Yeah. Look, I have thrown shade at Forge World for a good couple of years now when it comes to their casting. they are held up by the community as like the epitome of resin casting, and I wouldn't even put them in the top 5. I find Forge World were really good 10 years ago.
I was going to say 10 years ago.
10 years ago is a very long time ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago they were great, and Games Workshop Fine Crap was crap. And I think now enough influence has happened that Forge World is essentially just Fine Crap.
Pretty much. I
I
know that there are people that would disagree with me, but I actually don't consider Forge World to be that impressive at all. I am speaking disappointed every time that something is coming out in Forge World for a reason, because they've done nothing to improve the quality of the product. Because the quality of the product is horrible.
Which, some of the things I do want to order for my Custodes army are some of the jump pack troops, that are Forge World only. So,
yeah. So there's a couple of things in here that we haven't touched on. Like there's an octopus that's coming because the crab was really popular. So every box set has to have a pet in it now.
I'm sorry.
I actually do like the octopus, but it's just really obvious what they're doing there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like there's a lot of it. Some of it's going to interest some people, some of it won't. Let's move on to stuff that's not Games Workshop.
Like
Socks.
Blackside Studios?
Socks, you can smile again. Yep.
I know.
Mobile Arms Endless Destiny, which is in a font that's very reminiscent of a certain extremely popular anime from the 90s. Neon Genesis, anyone? So this is a 28mm, 32mm mechanized cavalry combat. So it's mechs.
Skirmish.
Yep.
Wow, though.
It's a skirmish game, meant to be played on a 3x3 table. This looks phenomenal. Damn, Blacksite Studios having something that I feel like I need every 3 minutes.
So I'm gonna say something, and just let me finish this real quick. So at this point, with all the stuff that we've talked about with Blacksite Studios coming out, I would almost argue they're expanding with too much too quickly, except for the fact that they are doing self Kickstarters on their site to generate, like, we need this to get this going in production, and then we can send the stuff to you, and then we just have the molds to make. Like,
they also do a lot of their stuff up front too.
Well, they're doing it in the absolute right way. It's not like, hey, check it out, here's this new game we created, buy it.
Yeah.
Crickets. It's, here's this new game we want to develop. Do you want it? Back it. Hey, enough people have backed it, we can make it now. Like,
send it to retail.
Yeah. Like, I would argue they're doing too much too quickly, except for the fact of how they're doing it. They're making sure they have a customer base to get the initial, to get it made, and then whatever.
The benefit of a small company that understands that they're small is that they try to tick all of their boxes, cross all of their T's and dot all of their I's, because they are very well aware that it wouldn't take much to topple them if something went wrong. Now, I'm not like saying that that's going to happen. I'm very much the opposite. These guys are growing very quickly. From someone I've had experience in a couple of back rooms now, they tend to be delivered fairly regularly on time. There's currently 2 outstanding at the moment. One is the Don't Look Back one that we spoke about a couple of months ago. That was hoping to be released by October. It is delayed because of a couple of printing issues that they had. And like all of this has been up front. You can find it on their Twitch, on their YouTube. They don't wait for months before telling you. They tell you pretty much like the week that all of this stuff is happening. They have a regular weekly video update. There's another company that used to do that, George.
Yeah,
I was going to say the moment the thing started going wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, they actually update the backers and let them know what's going on and are being transparent.
Yeah, and they have no requirement to.
What? Yeah,
this is their own thing.
Yeah, because, they're doing independent, not, they're on a site that is required to do at least a monthly update, and they haven't done it since March. I mean, we're off topic. I'm sorry. This looks great.
That does really well. Bad Crow Games, Company Heroes. Even after their founder died, they've done a lot of updates.
The other one, I'm trying to think what the other one is. Oh, by the way, on their website, if you go to the Backroom tab, there is literally a tab that says production updates, and you can literally find links to all of the stuff that's outstanding. All of the video updates can be found there. It's, really good. Hametsu is currently delayed as well. That's the other one I was trying to think of, because, again, there was the problems with the proofs that they had to go back and forth a couple of times, and obviously getting proofs of printed material is very important because you want your end product to look good. So, there's been a couple of delays. They're all fairly understandable stuff, and it didn't take us months to find out about it because nothing was hidden. It was all very open. So, all very positive things to say. Not everything is done through this, by the way. Luna that we looked at recently was just released, re-released as a product, because it didn't really need as much work as this stuff does because it already existed. You can buy this in a couple of different ways. You can just buy the rules, which would be like a physical copy of the box with the dice, because in theory you can use whatever mechs you want for this. There's also a digital rules only, so that you can print off your token sheet and your rules and your templates. And then there's another digital that comes with all of the STLs to download actual resin mechs. And then we're going into all of the unlocks. I think this looks really good so far. The prices of your mechs, these are 28mm mechs, and they're around $50 to $60, depending on the size of the mech. I think it's all priced really nicely, honestly.
Let's see what the last two. It looks like they're $80 for a 3-pack. So if you figure that's like $23 ish.
For those watching the video edition of the podcast, the reason the prices are looking different on screen is because I'm in Australia and it automatically corrects.
I mean, if you look at we'll just go back to Games Workshop since that's the good reference. If you buy a hero, your general, your lieutenant, whatever mini from Games Workshop, an individual, they're $25 to $35. So to have something like this, and just look at these images with the detail.
Oh yeah, no, they look amazing. That's
a fine price, I think. And $80 to get 3 of those. There's a couple that are $40. If they're on a 20mm scale, let's see, how big are these?
28.
That's a 60mm base. Oh my god, a 60mm base.
They are huge.
That's huge.
Here's the other thing, George. All of these are designed to be magnetizable.
Yeah.
Not you have to play with them. They're designed that way on purpose.
Yeah, I just felt magnet holes provided for modular weapon systems.
And they sell magnets on their site too.
Everyone who is not Blacksite Studios, if you are making a game, look at what Blacksite Studios is doing and copy them. For the love of God.
Look, I understand that not everybody wants to go in that direction, but when you're making a game like this that's designed to be interchangeable, a game like what Sox is showing,
perfect for a 1/8 by 1/32 magnet.
Yep.
And I can swap out all my turrets.
Because it makes sense in a game like that where you're supposed to be changing your weapons over to do it. It's a little harder with 40k, but part of that is because they make it harder on purpose.
I'm going to throw out one type of model for 40k that they have no excuse. Dreadnoughts.
Yep,
there's
100%.
No excuse why those can't be pre-designed to be magnetized.
Some of them don't need to be. Some of them can be friction fit, but not all of them. The newer ones are a little harder in that regard. But I will give credit where it's due. There are some of them where you can. The old dreadnoughts, you could just push fit the arms.
You could, yes. And those were easier. The new Redemptor ones?
Yeah. I have seen people do conversions, but the fact that I'm saying conversion is already the problem there. Anyway, I'm going to move on. This looks phenomenal. It's an actual, a 28, 32mm mech game. It's kind of like the mech game that everybody has wanted for a long time. It doesn't make sense to do it with Battletech because Battletech is meant to be large
scale.
It's meant to be large scale, and the rule set was always written with smaller miniatures in mind.
Yeah, definitely a kill team mech game is what
Yes.
we need or want. Yeah.
I love their mech workshop, the MDF kit.
Oh, actually, yeah, I didn't even talk about them, but no, yeah, they look
Oh
great.
yeah, because it's Blackside Studios, so they always got to have some awesome terrain that we have to want.
Yep.
Jerks.
Speaking of, hopefully my mobile park homes are here soon. Battle Kiwi have done a couple of new things on their website. This is all 3D printed terrain. So there will be some people that will automatically discredit this and go, no, it's 3D printed. I don't care. I can do it myself. But I really like these 3D trees.
Well, it's
3D printed trees, there's not a lot of good ones, honestly.
So, and I'll throw this out there too. Like, okay, yeah, there's some people who have dumped an investment to have their own very good personal 3D printer.
Yep.
But for a company
lot of people that don't.
Yeah. And so to get like, oh, I give you $20 and you're going to send me something that's a really good quality 3D print, I'm okay with that.
$28 for 3 trees, and this is New Zealand dollars, so it's even cheaper for you. Like, that's a steal. Plus, I mean, they're very much cartoony trees, but I really like the look of these. I think they look good.
What's that game you got? Well, those look like they'd look good for Moonstone if there's terrain with that.
Yeah, I do agree. That's where my mind went when I looked at these two. I really, really like it. And, like, they're really cheap, which is the benefit of buying 3D printed stuff, is that it should be cheap. I realise not all of them are. They're using, like, Age of Sigmar stuff here as an example for scale, which still works because fantasy. I probably wouldn't be using them in a historical war game. I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't, but... deciduous trees as opposed to pine trees, which is good because...
Coniferous.
Okay.
Pine trees are coniferous and leaf trees are deciduous.
Oh, okay.
Australia doesn't have a lot of coniferous, don't they?
We have a little bit of both, but like most of our pine trees are planted. Like they're like pretty like no, we don't have natural ones.
You don't have
right? Yeah, okay.
It's all done by like lumber companies.
The western scapes in the eastern mountains,
where they will look pretty for about 2 years before they're all landfilled and look ugly again for the next 8 to 10 years. I really like these. Like they're just trees, but at the same time, I like the fact there's so many of the trees for wargaming out there all look the same. It's all that bottle brush kind of look, or it's pine trees because they got them for cheap at Christmas time and
the model railroad trees.
And let's be honest, pine trees are pretty easy to design and make.
Yes.
So, and I'm just gonna throw this out there because it's been a while, but ever since our 2-hour talk with Mel that one night,
oh yeah,
I never look at terrain trees the same, like
because they're all out of scale.
I'm looking at the one with the picture of the orc, like yeah, it looks all good and everything, but I'm just looking at like the scale on that is way off.
Yeah,
like
the middle one.
That scale is so terrible because that
like
tree should be like 4 times that size.
At least.
Thanks for that, Mel.
I actually quote Mel on that quite regularly when I'm talking scale. We also have, this one's kind of a little bit more dull because, well, it's boxes and crates. And it's very much fantasy boxes and crates too. Although these are supposed to be because, well, you're not getting crates like that in modern day. But again, like you're looking at $25 for a lot of boxes and crates. 3D printing on these is probably a little bit more obvious than the trees, but they still look fine.
You know what models those are?
They're Lord of the Rings ones.
Yes, they are.
You know what you can do with boxes and crates like that, Bruce?
Anything you want.
Objective markers.
Oh, yeah, true, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Of course, it's because I'm smart.
No. You're not pretty either. Why do we have George?
I don't know.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
Anyways,
Omni are back on Kickstarter. And this time they're doing storage cases because they want to compete with Tired Word Studios.
Organizer.
This is maybe not deliberately, because I wouldn't be entirely surprised if they don't know about Organizer. They are looking at larger armies too, where Organizer's very much for skirmish. And the design of this is completely different as well. I'm currently backing this. I don't know if I'm going to stay as a backer because I'm not convinced I will actually use it. Anyway, there's different sizes. There's micro, which is kind of in the same sort of vein as the base Organizer. And then there's briefcase, which is a little bit more in line with the double. Obviously, the sizes are different. I quite like the duffel, but the chest is where I go, ooh, I really like that. Part of me kind of wants to print it just so I can print it, even though that would mean that I have to get my FDM printer working, which I need to actually do at some point. The original Omni, which was the display cases, pretty much I've heard nothing but really good feedback on them. This is obviously just coming from the same direction, but for storage, which makes sense. They do have, there's some unlocks somewhere here where you can replace the lid or the door of it with a built-in acrylic window. So you can kind of like do a little bit of both. I like the fact that they've done an option for storing your paints and stuff, which is not hard. It's just putting some holes in some things. But I really, like, if you look at the chest as they show you how they open and stuff, it looks really nice.
They've got some paint storage options too.
Yep.
Maybe a print replacement for another scam Kickstarter that yourself and Michelle got taken by.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I just remembered that. Oh, here's the assembly of it.
Like, it's very clearly 3D printed because you can see where it's been put together and stuff, but I'm really, really impressed by this. Hence the reason why I backed it, like within the first hour of it going live. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to stay backing this because just purely and simply from a personal point of view, I already own a lot of storage for my miniatures. I don't really need... I mean, I do and I don't. I don't need to organize... Sorry, I don't need to store my minis. I need to organize them better is my problem. And that doesn't really help me with that.
So...
But I like this as options. Options are good.
This is kind of cool. Like, I don't hate this. But, and I'm going to throw this out there because this is the issue I ran into with Organizer.
Mm-hmm.
Your average size 3D printer, because if you go look at Ender, if you go look at Anycubic, if you go look at all of the mainstream 3D printers, there's two sizes. You have your standard size, and then you have a max or a plus.
Yeah.
The max or the plus are at least double the price. In the case of what I've been looking at, they are double the price. And to do just the Organizer, which, as you pointed out, was a skirmish size, I have to print them vertically, panels, I have to print them vertically, or get a bigger printer to print them flat so it's more stable.
Yeah.
Which that is ultimately what I'm going to be doing here. And depending on how this is set up, that chest one is 24 inches wide.
Oh, yeah.
25 inches wide. So are they going to have that as one piece and just say, oh yeah, you have to get a printer big enough or can do vertically that big?
Well,
or
no,
you can
actually, if you look at the video, you can actually see where the pieces have been put together.
Right. Or, how well is that going to be designed? Like, I'm currently having severe issues with my, filament printer of, the foot that prints out isn't sticking, which then causes a corner to curl.
Yep.
As it prints. So it's like, this is a really cool concept. I don't know if 3D printing is a way to go for it, though.
Yeah, no, it's completely fair. Like I said, I backed this pretty much instantly, but I'm probably backing out of this. I'm still very impressed by what I'm looking at. I won't be backing out because I don't I like it, but it's after backing it, I'm sort of sitting here going, I could, even if I do get my 3D printer working, the issue for me is that I don't really have a reason to actually print this beyond wanting to have a chest, which I would probably never use.
Yeah, the other thing I'm looking through here too is, like, you know, they've got the high fantasy, they've got the gothic, you know, they're showing off all the stuff and everything.
Yeah.
They're showing like storing Massive Darkness 2 in it, or just Massive Darkness, which, you know, I've got on my shelf. But they're not showing enough of how the printed parts are assembled to make the case.
Largely that's because they go together the same way that the previous one does.
Okay, that doesn't matter. That's the previous one, not this one.
I was just answering your question.
They're doing a great job of showing how the modular configuration can be inside the case, but they're doing it. And to be fair, too, on the first one, they did a fairly terrible job of showing how that case also goes together as well.
Yeah. There was a single video done by one of the creators showing you how it goes together, and you kind of... I didn't even find it until months after the campaign was over, because it just didn't show up for me for whatever reason. Ironically, it's a really good video, but it just didn't seem to go out into the wider world. I assume that there's something similar to this, but I haven't actually looked because it wasn't really the important thing of the story.
Yeah,
Anyway, I thought it was interesting, and I like the acrylic window lid option.
Sure, yeah,
because it can be basically both at that point. But it's going to come down to, yes, obviously. Do you have a need for it? I don't really feel I do have a need for this because, like I said, I own a ton of storage for my miniatures already. Storage is not the problem; it's organization on my front that's the problem. In my ADHD brain, putting it off all the time.
Well, and just look at this too. Like I bought the organizer stuff, and I bought the little thing to take 2 cases and put it together.
Yeah, I mean, there would be absolutely zero reason for you to buy this because you literally have a solution already.
And looking at like the way the organizer is, you know, shown versus this, I think organizer is a better option than this. Now, this does have a bigger option, but I think.
From memory, I think it was either JP or Shay, but one of them basically was saying the same thing, is that they felt the organizer was a better option.
I think that was JP. I think he said he was backing it, but I think he said that, oh yeah, it's in our chat right here. I'm not sure I like it as much as I like organizer, but I think I may back it anyway.
Yeah.
That was on 829. So, and I think I have to agree with JP. I think the design of the organizer, like, he does a better job of showing off how it goes together. I think it's much more simpler. I think it's much more versatile than this.
Yep.
I still think this is an okay idea. I don't think I would back it, though. I think I'd rather... Because looking at some of this stuff, too, versus, like, the organizer, like the magnetic tray the organizer does, is so much a better design.
Well, yeah, because it literally is designed to print around the plate. So, yes, it definitely is.
Mm-hmm. So...
Yeah. All right.
But I will say this, I do like the little, like, exterior accessories you can add onto it to make it look more for whatever army you're carrying in it.
Yeah. I mean, you could almost make the argument that the storage case becomes a piece of terrain if you wanted. It probably would be a little big, but if you want a really big piece of art, like if you printed the smaller one, there's no reason that can't just be a building. Depends on whether you can go into buildings or not for your game, though. Moving on. You mentioned Moonstone earlier. Hey, we got Moonstone.
Yep.
And I really like this stuff, and I really want this stuff. Specifically the next guy. But, so we're getting some... I'm going to try and pronounce this in a second. We're getting some new Le Chevault Moonstone minis. So we have Root, which is... it's a living tree, quite literally. We have Drania, which is kind of like an ent type thing. I mean, it's all their own versions of them, obviously. And Snag, which is another like living tree type thing. I really, really like these. These are currently on pre-release for September the 11th. But the next one is Gump, and this might be the best looking mini from them I've seen on their range so far.
Does he have a shrimp boat?
Possibly. I doubt it though, because I doubt he's going in the water anytime soon.
Ooh.
Like this is
Ooh,
the
that looks
nicest
so
mini they've
good.
done in my eyes. I love these.
There are better minis industry wide than this, but I can't think of any of them right now.
Well,
Like a mini that looks better than this. It does exist. This just looks so good though.
Here's the difference with Moonstone though, because they're completely aiming in a different. Because it's not about the grim dark. It's not about Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah,
This is very much whimsical fantasy. So you want it to look completely. You don't want this to look like a real tree that's come to life, because this is supposed to be a fairy tale.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I'm just saying, like, the quality and the look of it.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I was just kind of pointing, because not everybody's going to be familiar with Moonstone, so I thought it was probably worth mentioning that.
Yeah.
I love this guy. He kind of looks like he's come out of a swamp.
Yeah. I do love the fact that his name is Gump.
Yeah.
And that he's a tree from a forest.
Yep.
And for those of you who don't get that reference, I'm sorry you're so young.
Agreed.
He doesn't have any chocolates, which is a shame.
But how fast can you run though?
True.
He's a tree, so not fast.
Hang on. He's got a 2-inch range, so yeah, he's not going very far.
Well, I was just gonna say, look at Pip and Mary when they met Treebeard, and it took like a couple hours. That yes, we acknowledge that you are hobbits.
We have decided that you are not orcs,
right?
Yeah,
that was 2 hours.
I will say this: I'm kind of surprised it's only a 40 mil base. I thought it would have been bigger. So that this thing's going to be like,
yeah, for the size of
that
the
tall or something.
Mini, that's a small little base.
Actually, it's probably it's going to be like maybe 6 or 7 inches tall or something. I don't know if there's somewhere on here that says how big it is, but yeah, I was just kind of surprised by that. But we will continue to move on. Otherwise, we will be here talking forever. Hey, Socks.
What?
September releases for Dystopian Wars.
Yes.
Somebody mentioned that you might be into Dystopian Wars a little bit.
Just
what's Dystopian Wars?
Steampunk World War One.
It's a ship battle that takes place in the same place as Wild West Exodus.
Yes,
I don't know this because my store doesn't have it.
That's your problem.
No, Hobby does, and you can get a discount through them.
True.
But anyways, yes. So we've got the Union Vanguard squadrons. This is part of some of the stuff that you'll get from the independent set. So this is kind of their smaller stuff that you might want more of.
So this is like a support box type thing by the look of it?
It is a support box, exactly. So you got your John Henry Colossus, the Iron Giant. And then you got the Cheyenne Submarine, and then a couple of destroyers, a faction-specific platform. It actually has one of the units that you can get actually carries this platform into the battle itself in the other set. And then you got the Akron-class Sentry Rotor and the Talon Assault SRS token. So $35, not bad price for everything you're getting, because you're getting 2 John Henrys, pretty much 2 of everything in the box. So
highlight for me is that submarine. I love the look of that submarine for some reason.
Yeah, that submarine's pretty cool.
Gorgeous. It kind of
the paddle wheel still.
It gives me. I want to say it gives me Nautilus vibes. I mean, I know that there's already a Nautilus somewhere else, but it just gives me those vibes.
Yeah.
Can I address how the irony of the John Henry class Colossus, which is a giant mech, named after a guy who died, proving that man can still beat the machine?
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair. That's 100% fair. We got some Stargate next. Wait, no, it's not Stargate, but it is cool. It is Abydos, which is in my head.
Yes,
In my head, it's Stargate.
So this is the Egyptians as part of the Sultanate faction. So this is the first set of Egyptians that we're seeing coming out for the Sultanate. Mostly it's been Turkish so far, but they've got 3 heavy stronghold skimming hovercrafts that you can get: the Abydos, the Pharos, and the Tanis.
I might be in love.
These look pretty cool. So
it's a
the Tanis,
it's a Stingray hovercraft.
Yeah.
I might be in love.
It is pretty cool. And then you got a bunch of smaller skimmers as well. They'll probably be on from flying stands. The big ones will not be on flying stands. They'll probably just be sitting on the board, but they'll act as skimmers. That's how some of the Commonwealth are too. So then you got some various other skimmers, the Manjets, the Mesquite. You've got some portals as well. Yep. So
I'm intrigued by portals.
Yeah, so the Sultanate can fire through the portals. They can also have their reserve units come in. They can also launch fighters through portals. So they have.
Do you know what portals sounds like? Schultznanigans.
Yeah, exactly.
Good point. Yeah, I'd never thought of that.
So yeah, we call these the shenanigan faction because of all the stuff that they can do. So yeah, just like the Shaltari are in Drop Fleet and Drop Zone. Yeah, this is kind of.
I approve.
Similar. This is kind of a similar faction.
I now have 2 factions that in my head I want.
The Sultanate?
The Sultanate because they're literally flying cities, and this because I don't have words. This is awesome.
You mean the Empire because of the flying cities? The Empire is the one that has the flying cities.
Yeah. What were the Sultanate? I don't remember what the Sultanate was.
Sultanate is Turkish, Egypt, and Greek.
Oh, okay. So this is Sultanate. Okay, never mind.
Yep, this is the Sultanate. The Empire is the ones with the Chinese dragons, the flying cities. That's the Empire. China, Japan, Korea. And then the last set that we have as release is called the Scions of Jutland. This is a mercenary set that's all Scandinavian as part of the Imperium. And boy, I'm already loving this stuff. So you get 3 different versions of their flagship: the Asgard, the Skaldin, and the Valhalla class dreadnought. And then you get 2 of their Einjar class Colossuses as well. And then you get a whole bunch of cruisers and some escort ships as well. So you've got a Thor, a Loki, a Heimdall, all in here.
So I would do this faction for 2 reasons. One, the names.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second, because Socks. So you posted this question in our host chat for a new player in your area on color schemes, and I did some answering on that.
Yep,
but
you did.
If I were to do this faction, every single thing in this army would have a barcode. Do you know why? So I can Scandinavian.
I've heard that joke before. Yes.
Get out.
So, yeah. Then you get the Fenrir submarine. You left.
Oh, God.
Thank you. I'll be here all week.
I know. So we get the first look of the submarine. Right now the Imperium only have one submarine. It's the Fenrir that comes in this box. And then you got the Valkyrie Hunt Rotor, which I like the look of. Ride of the Valkyries song just comes to my mind when I see just a horde of these coming at you. And then you got some midget subs.
This is good. This is really good.
Valley midget subs, SRS tokens, which some of these units can launch out some mini subs. So this will probably be on my wish list. And when the squadron box comes out for this, I'll probably be buying 1 or 2.
I like the fact that the flyers that were shown on the previous ship that they are also actual minis that you can use in the game. Yeah. Also, I don't hate the mixture of resin and plastic in this because they've been careful on what parts they've chosen to go where. Unlike
do
a
a
certain
very good
privateer
job.
press that I could mention, used to be very bad for that.
So when I got my
So
battleship,
that's because they did resin and metal.
Yes. Oh, sorry, that's a good point. But the problem, this is very much early stuff, not their stuff now. But like they would have the heavy bit would be on the top. So it became a nightmare.
And I haven't had any issues really with their resin casts. I mean,
no, their resin casting is phenomenal. I will agree.
It is very, very nice. So I'm looking forward to this. 30th of September, these 3 sets comes out.
Yep, very nice.
Scandinavian.
Coming up next, we have some Malifaux news. So for those that like to follow the links that I usually provide, I will not be able to provide links for the following story because this was all previewed in a private group on Facebook. So, A Weird Place on Facebook is the official group for Malifaux and the other side, but Malifaux is the point of interest here. These are all screenshots for the preview session that they did at Nova Open. So, coming up, we have Sen. So, very much fitting in with the aesthetic there. It's only a piece of artwork in this case, and unfortunately, because of the way that it's been taken, we don't really get to see all of the minis for it. But there's very clearly a very oriental-looking dress. Interesting look at the card. I can't quite read all of it though. The big one for me is this next one, because I'm sorry, but this is a pirate gremlin that has a seaweed beard.
Also, just real quick, do you know who did the voice acting for Gizmo in the first Gremlins movie?
No.
Howie Mandel. I just learned that last night and thought it was interesting.
Huh. I didn't know
Anyways,
that.
continue.
Yeah,
I didn't either.
Swashbuckler are literally like they're gremlin pirates, and one of them has a seaweed beard. You don't need any other reasons to buy this. I mean, look at it. It's a seaweed beard. It's brilliant. And if you don't think it's brilliant, then you're wrong.
I need to play the game in order to need to buy it. So there's that.
It's a very good game. Fumigator, a little bit of artwork on the card there. Clearly looks like he's a very, very healthy person. I love how the artwork's all rusted. Delirium. So these appear to be, these are new nightmares. So these are probably going to be working with the Dreamer, would be my experience, because he tends to work with these guys. So they're nightmares and woe. Oh, so they may actually work with a couple of different people. Just really twisted, almost Cthulhu-esque type stuff, which is very much in line. Atlas Keen is another one that's coming, and I don't know who the lady is that's beside him here, because we don't get an image of that card. This guy looks very full of himself, so yep, there is that. Ezekiel appears to be an undead gremlin. Sort of. Because that's definitely a gremlin that's wearing all of those skulls and stuff. So that's going to be interesting. We're finally getting gremlins that aren't part of the gremlin faction. Interesting. Clipper, which is a giant robotic-looking dragon thing, which is cool. And then finally, we have the Nightcrawler Network, which is a group of people that seem to have tentacle arms. For me, like the highlight for me is definitely the Gremlin Pirates, because I'm sorry, I'm going to say it again. It's a seaweed beard. Come on. Also, I just noticed that the weapon he's holding has Wilson drawn onto it. I didn't even notice that at first. From the Tom Hanks movie. Anyway, that's the Malifaux stuff. Like I said, if you want to have a look at this stuff closer for yourself, my advice would be to join A Weird Place. Weird is WYRD, just like the company. because it's the official group, and that's where you will find the originals of all of these. GCT Studios. I get to talk about Bushido. Yay! We get to start with an Oni, which is a monstrous-looking Oni that has spiked balls that she's going to throw at you.
Okay. I just zoomed in on the picture. I was just like, that's a little inappropriate, Bruce.
Gorgeous is maybe not the right word for an Oni, but like the sculpting on this is phenomenal. I don't know. This is going to be made from resin, so they seem to be moving away from their CO cast stuff, which is nice. They kind of tried a little bit of both recently, and hopefully they're moving away from CO cast because their resin was really good. Sakaguchi is my favorite from this set because it's a giant snake man with an arrow that fires snakes.
A bow.
Sorry, yes, a bow that fires snakes. I knew what I meant. This guy actually
episode of Getting Tabled, Bruce learns his medieval weaponry.
This guy actually works with the snakes that you can buy. Like there's an asp, a boa constrictor, and a cobra, and that's literally what he's firing at the enemy. So you probably might want to be buying multiple sets of those at this point. I don't own them because I haven't had a reason to, and now I'm definitely going to need them. Hotene is the next one, and seems to be like your blind monk type trope by the look of it. Gorgeous looking mini. Just very, very, very different. It's not that he's not blindfolded. He doesn't appear to actually have eyes.
I was gonna say it's like there's no eyes.
Yeah. Tatsuo. This is for our Prefecture of Ryu. Very much mystical, magical energy flowing from around her. I kind of want to say that she's playing with essences by the look of it.
That was my guess.
Because I was going to say it's either candles or incense sticks.
Yeah, incense. Sorry, that's the word I was looking at. Not essence. Let's see what the rules say. Ancestral guidance. At a very quick look, I don't see anything in the rules. But that's kind of the way I feel. And then coming up next, we have Yin and Yang. That's not what they're called. They're called Kayu and Majetsu. It's Yin and Yang. Like, quite literally, it's the yin-yang sign, but as miniatures.
They're floating koi fish.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I have a pick for my favorite mini.
Yep.
These two.
These two?
Who else takes koi fish and makes them like an integral part of the game as giant floating fish? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, you got the Naga snake people, you got the Onis, you got your samurais, and whatever. Here's two giant floating fish. Deal with it.
Yep. 12 rice comes for both of them. You have to have both. You don't get one or the other.
I like the special ability there. Splash.
Yep. Yeah, I like that.
Splash.
Yeah, I really like this. For me, it's Sakaguchi because it's an arrow that fires snakes. It's straight
bow. The bow fires the snake.
I even thought about it before I said it. It's straight out of pop culture was the thing I was going to say. Like, it's something that you see in cartoons all the time. It works really well. Socks.
On next episode of Getting Tabled, we continue to teach Bruce medieval weaponry.
Do you have a favorite?
I kind of like the guy with the bow as well.
Yep.
Just that concept of being able to shoot snakes at your enemies and have them get wrecked.
Yeah. It's gorgeous.
Socks has proven his mastery of medieval weaponry.
All right, we're going to move on. It's time to talk about an indie.
Indie. Definition. Independent. Type. Slang word. Jargon.
First thought, The Lazy Forger is a really interesting name for a company because as much as I get that, yes, it's a joke, but my first thought, if I heard a company calling themselves lazy, I'd be like, I don't really know if I want to do business with them. But
we'll get a cast for you eventually.
I mean, look, it's a joke. It's supposed to be a joke. All right, the Lazy Forger. We're doing 3D printed terrain. So most of this you're going to be finding on their My Mini Factory store. If you click on 3D files up above, you'll get there, just for you too. On this first page, I just want to talk about what's here on the side. The shelter, survivalist apparel. Like this is literally like it's store shelves that you can put in any building you want pretty much. Like that would work really well for the inside of half of my ruined buildings for Entropy City.
Well, if you click on it, then there's desks and chairs. Like, who the hell does desks and chair terrain?
There are a few companies that do. There's just not many of them because most of the time...
Right?
Well, buildings, most of the time, you just leave empty because usually they're not really something that takes into account in rules and stuff.
Oh my god.
What do you mean?
This terrain needs to be in Marvel Crisis Protocol, so Hulk can throw a desk at someone.
You'd have to make it bigger for that, but you could do that quite easily.
I know, but yeah, that's like the whole concept of like, here's a desk, it's terrain. Like,
yeah, it works so well. Like it would have to be a size 1, I suppose.
I just look at that, and that would be like the scale it is would be great for like a Call of Cthulhu role playing game. For like, you know, you're in the office of the what's the word for the person that the high society, like, you know,
yep,
Arcana enthusiast or whatever. Like, this is the desk in his study, and you have to rifle it.
I've just kind of opened a couple of things randomly. I'm going to start with the 6mm Tudor building because I'm sorry, how is a building that small, that detailed? This is 6mm scale.
Because he designed it at 60mm and then scaled it down.
That doesn't always work though.
That's the best exclamation I've got.
This is insane. Like, there is nothing lazy about this. I don't know why I'm getting hooked up, getting stuck on the name, but...
It's probably like, what do we call this? I'm like, I don't know. Let's keep with designing stuff. Hey, we got to come up with the name of this. We're just being lazy about it. That's the name.
Yeah.
Well, I like the HESCO barriers. George knows what those are.
HESCO barriers.
I don't.
Spent any time in the desert, you know what those are.
Oh, yeah, I found them.
Hang on.
Near the bottom.
Oh, nice. They're basically woven basket barrier type things. I'm guessing that they get filled with sand or something.
Yeah.
I am not see. This is in the 3D files?
No, the main Lazy Forger page.
Main Lazy Forger page.
Use the link that's on the...
Yep.
Yep. That's because he'd gone forward when I mentioned that you can find the storefront.
Yeah.
What am I looking for? The
HESCO barriers. They're about halfway down.
Oh, okay. He said bottom, so I was looking towards the bottom. Actually, I'd never had to deal with those.
No, you got lucky.
Yeah, no, I had my air conditioned Connex box.
And Socks is the one that lives in 6-star accommodation when he's claiming to be in the desert. Apparently, George was
for 4 months.
Apparently, George was in 8-star.
Well, no. It was a Connex box, so it was a repair box. It had all my tools and test equipment. The thing is, when you're working on radios and electronics, they have to be at a certain temperature. So,
yeah,
air conditioning. So, who's the smart one?
Nobody
Whatever.
here.
Anyways.
Socks gets to sit at a desk all day. I think he probably wins there. Then again, you get to sit at your own desk in your own house, so...
I sit right here all day.
These
can
guys
we
have
talk
some
about-
really, really nice looking stuff. What are we talking about, Socks? George?
The commie blocks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, again, 6mm. How is their 6mm stuff this good?
What game are they making 6mm stuff for?
Oh, there's plenty
Good
of 6mm games out there if you want to look for them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. I always thought 10mm was on the scale of like,
Almost too
okay,
small.
you're getting a little crazy there. Let's slow down, make it a little bigger, you know.
Keep on looking down. That's not just a building. It's actually got insides as well.
Yeah, with cars. And the cars are like the size of his fingernail. Half the size of his fingernail.
That's
Oh my God.
insane.
It comes apart.
Yes. This is incredible.
We're gonna use my little soldier and move him through this building. Good luck with that. I need some tweezers.
Kidding. Yeah,
It's
do Zone Mortalis on a 6mm scale.
well, you could with this.
Yeah, no kidding. Good lord.
Yeah. So, smaller scales, generally speaking, isn't something I've really delved in deep for because it's just not really. There's not really been a lot that's grabbed me in that sphere. I mean, you could argue Drop Fleet Commander, but that's not about scale at that point.
Because you don't hate yourself enough to paint that small.
Well,
it's gonna be done. It's gonna be real quick. You're done.
But see, that's the thing. I mean, you talk about having to paint really small, but you kind of don't really. Like, washes do all of the work for you at that point. Like, you're not dotting your eyes at 6mm. The wash does all of your work for you. The only thing you really have to do is dry brush it back up again. But there's some really good stuff here at these small scales.
I'd say the winner for me on this site is the shelter stuff, like the shelves and the desk.
Yeah, like for me, that's what grabbed my attention first. And we haven't even really looked at, like, on the actual storefront, like there's 71 different items there. Like they have like, and I'm just gonna like browse over this really quickly. There's more different types of buildings. They have a dark oak forest, which is all dead trees. Basing elements. Like there's just lots and lots and lots and lots of different stuff here. I like the storage warehouses. And in fact, I'm pretty sure I've seen these before. Because I'm pretty sure these are the ones that Dwayne was using for the table that he was building right now. In fact, it definitely is. Ha, Dwayne, I just found your 3D print source. Hang on. So we are about, hang on, how many rows? We're about 6 rows down. Storage warehouses.
Where are we at? I'm sorry, I squirreled.
On the My Mini Factory.
My Mini Factory.
That was the storefront. Where you went early.
Oh, the 3D files?
Yeah. About 3 rows down, we have full spectrum, Solon tanks, and then storage warehouses is what I want to look at. They're like broken up little resin, literal warehouse sheds.
Oh, overhead. I see them.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Like seriously,
Oh,
I could make if I could make these bigger, then that's Entropy City right there. And the detail again is phenomenal. I mean, these have been printed at a smaller scale, but that is insane.
So on that same page, if you scroll up, Dark Oak Forest.
Oh, yep, I've got this open already. Yep.
Like, come on, really?
Yeah, what was I saying earlier about there not being a lot of really good trees out there for 3D printing? I guess I'm taking that back.
Here's the best part, because you see it in some of the pictures, right? So you get naked trees. So you could paint them, and you have naked trees for terrain. Or you could add some glue and stick them in some flock, and then, oh my god, you have trees with leaves.
Yep.
And it's not just like, plastic paint to look like leaves. No, it's like actual flock, so it's got more of a tree look, a tree feel.
Yeah. There's some insane... I'm only scratching the surface here. Like, there's some insane stuff here. There's an Asian school ground that I'm not going to look at too closely. There's just transmission towers. Like, there's everything that you could ever want. Like,
There's
seriously.
workbenches.
There's what?
Workbenches.
Whereabouts is that?
Towards the bottom. It's like a second full row from the bottom. You got workbenches, office desks, storage shelves. Oh my god, cooking? You can get a kitchen!
I've had them. There's free samples too. So, yeah, a lot of this stuff is at a smaller scale, but you could easily bump this up. All you need to do is play around with it. Basically...
Did you find the cooking spot?
Yes, I did, yeah.
That's so... How many people make a kitchen for terrain?
There's not a lot. There really isn't a lot.
I've never seen that before. That is amazeballs.
TT Combat have some in-house stuff. I don't know about cooking stuff. I'd have to look again, but...
That's what I'm talking about. Like, who makes a kitchen?
Yeah.
Not very many.
It's really, really cool. Yeah. Anyway.
This is really good stuff here.
Yeah. Yeah, I came across this a month or so ago, and I decided to save it because I was like, yeah, no, I'm coming back to this. And yeah,
Good
I'm
find.
really glad that I did.
Really good find.
So that's the Lazy Forger. Link will be in the show notes as always, but we are going to talk about some hobby.
Trim, glue, prime, paint.
George, what have you been up to? Gallivanting around the country.
So if you notice, see how I don't have the back of my hobby furniture here?
Yeah.
It's open now. It's because I took the L and the stuff and I put it over there.
Yep.
Because I'm toying with the idea of, building that hobby bench. And in my mind, it's like, after having all the stuff on my right side, thinking I want it on my right side, I don't. I do want it on my left. So I've moved everything over to the left. And I do like it over there better because, well, one, I am left-handed, and it makes more sense. I thought my right hand would be free more often. Nope, turns out it is still the left hand. So I moved that over and have been playing with that.
So your teachers didn't cane your hand every time you picked your hand up then?
No.
That was more of a parents thing. Actually, did they do that in the US? They did in Australia.
Only in Catholic schools, which, that's part of the reason why the founding of America is freedom of religion from the Catholic Church. So, no. But I have been looking at designing and sourcing materials for my custom hobby bench, which I found a website that has phenomenally priced T-slot aluminum, which will make up the frame.
Nice.
The first place I found was about 37 cents an inch. This site is 17 cents an inch.
Nice.
So when you start looking at it's 50%. The big thing is the connectors. So the first site I looked at, it was like I was looking at I think $350 in a T-slot aluminum, and then $500 in connectors to put it all together.
Yeah, so that's not worth it. Yeah.
This site, I'm looking at like $170 in T-slot aluminum and $200 in connectors.
Yeah, that's a little bit more reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Which, when this is going to be custom sized to fit my Hobby Zone stuff, which I've also redesigned that, and an airbrush and all that stuff, and have 1, 2, 3 shelves to have stuff sitting on top instead of this freaking ass hutch.
What's that hutch for?
So
well, what's the hutch supposed to be for?
Well, the hutch, it's currently storage for an exhaust fan and work in progress stuff.
Yeah.
So there's one shelf and then there's 2 shelves. I'm gonna have a third shelf. I'm not gonna have this door. It's going to be more access. It's going to be deeper. It'll have room to store a paint booth that actually sucks instead of just an exhaust fan.
Yeah.
So I found an inside air filter, so like all the fans can suck and blow through that filter and exhaust out clean air. So
nice.
Suck and blow. That's what she said.
So yeah, I'm looking at that as far as getting that going here. It's going to take me probably about 4 or 5 months to get all the parts and pieces ordered for that. So once I get that, that's going to be a heck of a video series.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of which, I should get around to actually finishing my table at some point. I did start all of the wood's out there. When I blew my knee, I put it on pause and I haven't gone back to it. So I should do that at some point. Socks, what have you been up to?
Not a whole lot since we had a hurricane blow just off the coast of us. So
You lazy bastard. Come on. You got a little wind stop you from doing painting?
Okay, we had power go out a little bit. I had to evacuate off the base with all of our equipment. So I was busy this week.
Just a little wind and he runs for the hills.
We weren't running. Well, the base actually got some flooding. So if it was more flooding, our building would have flooded. So
fair enough.
You've all seen.
I was going to say that duty station in Wyoming doesn't sound so bad now, does it?
No.
Any chance he gets to mention that?
Yeah, I know, right? So you've all seen this one. This is my big thundercloud. I have now made some smaller ones as well.
Nice.
For Dystopian Wars. That way our flyers can hide behind them and whatnot. They actually have rules for moving terrain for like icebergs and clouds and stuff like that. So with our league, which we'll talk about here in the upcoming events starting on Wednesday, me and my other Warhost buddy is trying to build up some terrain for all of our tables. So
can you do one thing to make me and Bob Ross happy, Socks?
What's that?
Hide smiley faces on them. There's a happy little cloud right here.
Just on one. Just on one. Just do a little happy face on one of them. Maybe
cloud
underneath so it's not so obvious. And then the first person that finds it gets some silly little prize. Like maybe they get to keep that cloud at the end of the tournament or something.
That'd be funny. That would be funny.
Well, we can't do that now because now they're going to look for it.
It's true. It's true. Another thing I've been doing is this is my son's Commonwealth, going back to magnetizing. He's got all these little turrets, and so I've magnetized them.
Nice.
So, did he do it, or did you do it?
No, he just said that he did it.
I'm going to teach him how to do it so that he can do it on the next time.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, that's what you need to teach him how to do it so that he knows how to magnetize so that you can utilize child labor for magnetizing because he's got smaller fingers to do it with.
I got you.
Oh, dear.
But so I've done all the small ones, but he does have all of his larger turrets that I could teach him on. So
nice.
What have you done to Bruce? Other than
I was going to say Bruce has got some big stuff to report on. I bet.
I had a big, massive public showing of my game. So
yeah, how'd that go?
It was a really good weekend actually. So getting out of bed at 8 o'clock in the morning sucked. Because the event started at 10. The actual, you were allowed to start setting up at around 8. I wasn't getting there at 8 o'clock. It wasn't happening. I aimed to get there at 8:30. So I got up and I got ready and I left the house and I rode all the way to Ringwood. And then I realized, I've left something at home and I had to ride all the way back again. And then I rode all the way back for a second time. So that was a great start to my day. So I got there at around 9 o'clock in the end. I would have been actually earlier than planned, but yeah, I messed up and I left one of my bags at home. And it was the bag with the minis, so it was slightly important.
Oh, you kind of need that one.
Well, I had the big one full of terrain on the back because I had to spend 10 minutes strapping it down to the bike. And I was being so careful to make sure, because I'd strapped it down and I'm like, it's the first time ever using the new straps that I brought because I'm trying to solve that problem. And I guess I got so focused on that I forgot I had to go back in to grab my backpack. And I got there and I suddenly, I think I was like 5 minutes from the venue or something at that point, and it's a 30-minute trip. I was like, hang on,
I'm missing something.
I don't have my backpack on. And I had no choice at that stage because I can't do anything without it. So I had to go all the way back and get it again. So everything got set up in the end. So one of the big comments from the day is everybody was kind of surprised that I'd brought all of it from home on a motorbike. That seemed to be the big shocking thing to everybody. Like my mate mentioned it to begin with, and I'm like, well, yeah, I kind of had to. And I didn't even and then there was 3 or 4 people that kind of commented on that when he mentioned it. So, okay, well, I'm just going to start commenting on that too now because apparently this is impressive. So I just took the ball and ran with it pretty much. Actually, yep.
In this day and age of like, there's lots of people that have, cars, and I'm sure you have some friends that you could be like, hey, pizza and a beer if you transport my stuff for me,
Yeah, or I can just do it myself.
I know, but
yeah, I'd been very when I was trying to put everything together, I tried to organize it in a way that I could pack it all into one of the Battle Foam 720 bags. It's a bag that's like, hang on, this way. It's like this. It's not tiny, but it's not huge either. So I strapped it down and I got it there, and I set everything up fairly well, I feel.
I have to ask here real quick after you doing that, did you get your camera figured out so it stopped freaking out and like...
Oh, yes. Yeah, I have. I've turned off the automatic focus thing. Yeah. Because as fun as that was for the first 20 minutes of making it do that on purpose, it started to annoy me. So I turned off the automatic focus and I've got it at a certain thing. I've basically zoomed in as far as I can before it starts like messing up.
Pixelating.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. So like the day started off with somebody, a guy came up asking about the game specifically because because the NWA had done a write up on everybody that was hosting, or every game basically, and you wrote a little blurb, and mine was kind of very generic because I didn't really think about it when I did it.
Can you spell out that acronym? Because in America, NWA has an entirely different meaning.
Oh, that's a good point. Nunawading Wargaming Association. I'm trying to think what it is. Oh, NWA is a rap band.
Ice Cube, Easy.
Yeah, good point.
Dr. Dre, yeah. So that's an entirely different.
So yeah,
Socks doesn't know about them. He doesn't listen to that kind of music.
Socks doesn't listen to music. He bangs rocks.
Yeah,
no, he doesn't. He's in the Air Force. I bang rocks.
He admits it, folks. Of all people, if this was a band, George would be playing the drums because it's the only thing he's smart enough to do. Anyway, so my day actually started with a guy that had seen my write-up and had gone hunting for Entropy City because he'd never heard of it for obvious reasons, like it doesn't exist. And had come across the somewhat ramble-fest of a video that I put out like a month and a half ago, which was like my 12-month update, which basically was a ramble of me talking about like what's happened in the game up until this point, what have I actually done in the last 12 months. And he basically headhunted me because he wanted to have a game of it and try to figure out like what it is, because obviously there's no footage of how the game plays or anything at this stage. So that was a massive highlight right off the bat. I had a friend that had come by as well because they had been wanting to have a go of it for a while. I knew they were coming, so that wasn't a surprise.
Did you record any of it so there's footage of it being played now, Bruce?
No, but I will do that at some point.
Bad.
No,
Bad, Bruce.
The reason I haven't done that at this point is that until I get to a point where the game's closer to being finished, if I put out videos, it may actually be misleading at a later stage.
So that makes sense too. So,
I've done a couple of videos for like Patreon of like really quick things at some point, which is there's a battle report that I wrote up for my project blog at some point. So there is like some quick videos on there, but it's not really how to play. It's more, this is what happened here and this is what happened there. So like overall, like the event went really well. But early thoughts for me is that I was sitting right next to the 40k table, so instantly I'm intimidated because I'm right next to what should be the most popular table of the day. So well, nobody's going to look at me now. But if anything, I actually
and they put you in the corner.
They did put me in the corner. Yeah, that is true.
Mm-hmm.
But shock of the day for me is that I was probably more popular than the 40k table was.
Nice.
That's good.
I think
That
the
is
main
awesome
reason
news.
for that is that like because 40k is so easy to come across, I guess. Like they did have people that was there, but they were kind of like they were just sitting and playing games themselves most of the day, which is fine. I mean, they weren't upset by it. But I think because it's a community event and everybody's coming to discover new things, and everybody already knew what Warhammer was, I'm guessing, or were already players of Warhammer, so they didn't really feel the need to. Like the 9th edition table usually had people around it. Like there was everything there. Socks, we looked at Enemy Spotted Studios, or was it you and I that looked at Enemy Spotted Studios, George? The Modern Warfare one. Must have been me and Socks.
I
then.
remember.
I was gonna say that actually rings a bell. I just
Doesn't ring a bell to me.
Okay, it was me and George then. So somebody was actually hosting a table of that at the event. Like there was a lot of there was no tables that were basically ignored all day, and there was a decent amount of people there. I mean, I'm not talking Gen Con amount of people, but like this was at a community hall type event where there was somewhere between 16 and 20 tables, and they pretty much all had people looking at them at one point or another. There was one table that kind of made me a little bit uncomfortable because of all of the things they decided to run, they decided they were going to run Custer's Last Stand, which is not entirely appropriate. The way that they had the signage and all done, like
I was gonna say it's just historical wargaming, but if they've got some questionable signage, like I could definitely.
Well, they were just outright calling the Native Americans Indians. And don't get me wrong, I realize from a historical perspective there's an argument to be made where, okay, well, that's not what they were calling themselves at the time. And it doesn't take much to find out who was involved.
Well, I'm going to throw this out there right there because I do have a couple of buddies who are native, and that term actually doesn't cause as much issues as you might think it does.
Oh.
It's the people who think it causes an issue are the ones that have an issue with it.
Interesting. Okay, that's actually really helpful because
actually, so Socks can attest to this because this was in the media, not hugely in the media, but there is a indigenous group who started a petition requesting the new owner of the Washington Commanders football team in the DC area change the name back to the Washington Redskins, which everyone's like, "Oh, that's offensive! It's horrible." And
to be fair, there was native people on the change. That there was native people on that change as well.
Yeah. Well, it's.
There's two sides to that argument within the community.
My argument is you're right for addressing that, but on the other hand too, though, a lot of those folks, a lot of them are like, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, but there was a couple of people that had brought it up with me, like on the sly. Like nobody was like, and I actually on the sly, I actually asked if anybody had complained about it, and nobody had. So that is a good thing. My main concern was. Oh, gee, I hope people aren't going to be upset about that and then think that I'm involved. So, and that was basically just a non-issue. But even when it brought up with me, so there's like racial slurs there, but they're not bad. They're just kind of questionable, which I would agree with, especially with what you've just said. And my thought at the time was like, well, at least it's not Redskin because that would be worse, obviously.
Well, and like I said,
that is
trying to get the
derogatory
team named back to Redskin.
What did they change the name to?
Commanders.
Okay.
And then just as another little caveat, in North Dakota, I don't know if it's still like this, But for a while, there's a university up there. They had a really great hockey program, and the school mascot name was the Fighting Sioux. And the Sioux tribes were like, no, keep using your name because your team is awesome and you kick butt. That's what we were about, and you're doing that. Keep doing it. So
for me, I feel, and I'm not that Indigenous population, but I do come from an Indigenous background. Well, I have an Indigenous history. Not that I didn't live in. Anyway, personally, I feel it's not so much the use of terms, it's why those terms are being used that can be problematic. Redskins was never something that was used from a positive point of view. It was just something that was done because it was a pop culture thing.
Sure.
And that's where the problem from it come from. I'm not familiar with the other one, so.
Yeah, and like I'm not, I'm gonna say like, oh, people are just, like some people are, some people aren't. I think it's just sometimes
it's intent that's the important thing.
Well, yeah, and I think sometimes it's just made to be too much of an issue than it actually is. Because another one that I haven't heard too much guffaw about it, and it's in Sox's area. Is the Florida Seminoles.
I'm not familiar with that one at all.
Not heard. It's a college.
College.
And I haven't heard any uproar about getting that changed.
Nope.
So
I think the problem with the Washington Redskins was that it literally was a national, very big deal, and somebody making a lot of money off your heritage. Not you specifically, but I think that's largely where the problem. I used to have a Chicago Blackhawks hat when I was a kid. I had no idea what the Blackhawks were, and here's the other. There was no real big issue that was made over this table. I just mentioned it because it was something that was concerning at the day, and thankfully there was no drama. I was concerned there would be. There wasn't any. But
it's an odd digress. I mean, it's not like the dude in Spain who was wearing the obvious paraphernalia. So, but yeah,
the thing I find really weird is that. It's not objects. I mean, the guy came over and talked to me at one stage, and he seems nice enough. But it just, of all of the things that you want to do in Australia as well, why are you looking at that one? I mean, I don't want him doing one of the Australian background ones. I will have a problem if he does that. Because I'm sorry, enough people were slaughtered. Thank you there's enough problems in the community without doing that. But it just seems like it was a really random. Like at that point, why are you not just doing a Cowboys and Indians table? Because at that point, you may as well be.
Well, it as the saying goes, the winners write history.
Yes,
that's one of the times where they came away with a big win. So, they're like, they may know, like, we kicked y'all's butt. We don't care. Like, we were, underarmed and all this other stuff. It's just like, But anyway, so I am actually like truly and genuinely like happy for how things went for you, Bruce. Like we had a little quick brief conversation like after it happened, and I was just, when you told me what happened, I was just like, wow, that's really. I mean, as you said, it's not huge, but you said
it was a start. There was like 16 to 20. I have an exact number somewhere, but it was 16 to 20. I don't know how many people came through the door, but it felt like a significant amount.
But for you to like have a table demoing a game that like, is still in its development, and for you to like always have people at your table, that's huge, dude. So
the last hour was quiet. And at that point it was because it was done. Like everybody had kind of moved on at that point. I had one person that was going to come. Like there was a quiet moment where I was like, "Can I just step away for a sec?" Because there was a store I wanted to check out. Because A, I wanted to talk to the owner because I know him, and B, I wanted to buy something. And at that point, somebody had come to the table. It was going to come back, but they didn't, which is fine because that happens anyway. But I always had people at the people playing, and if I didn't, I had people at the table asking about the game and the world. Like there were people like halfway through games and were asking questions and I'd answer, and it took me a little while to find the groove because it's different when you're playing with somebody that doesn't know. We started off with like playing like what would it be close to a full size game, and I shrunk it down to just $3 a piece at that point because it was taking too long. Not that he wanted to like play a proper game, so I played a proper game with him. And then like towards the end of the day, I was like, I'm just going to set up the minis so it's like halfway through a game, and then that was where things started slowing down. So, but no, I walked away from that with a really, really positive experience. Despite the fact that, like I said, there was concerns early on that I was worried that there was going to be drama, and there was none. Like again, there was no problem. I'm only mentioning it because I found it interesting, and it was something I kind of felt it was important to raise. It went really well. So very happy. I'll definitely be doing more of them. Like there's been a few people that's been like, hey, are you looking for play testers? Like, well, I'm always open for play testers. I'm not doing a lot of other stuff in hobby at the moment because quite frankly, I don't really, I mean, if I want this to be a thing, I don't have time.
Right, no, that makes sense.
I do have a game of Malifaux coming up in the next couple of weeks. We need to sit down and do a date for that. I was supposed to be playing Bushido Friday night, and that kind of didn't happen because it was Magic release night. So originally we were going to play at a different store because they have more space because I didn't want a sardine. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to that store. I don't want to be packed in like... I don't like playing a war game on Magic release night because it's just a nightmare.
So I'm going to say this, like, you know, and this is, you know, I played a lot of Magic and I was huge into Magic. And
it's not an anti-Magic thing, although
I get the pre-releases, I get the hype and everything. But yeah, whenever there's a set for Magic coming out and there's a pre-release, like, I will actively avoid and let them have their space to do their thing, and I will just do something somewhere else.
Yeah. So it was still going to be happening at the other store that we were talking about going to, but it's at least twice the size, so it's less of an issue. You're not standing in the middle of a headache, which is how I usually end up feeling on release night otherwise. But the other guy wasn't really as keen to travel to the other store, so I was like, well, we'll have to do it. And he was like, well, I would rather do it at the original store, or we can reschedule. And I was like, yep, okay then, that's fine. So I was disappointed, a little bit pissed. I didn't kind of say that, but because I travel an hour to get to this particular store every time I'm there. It's like, well, the one time we're going somewhere else, it's a problem.
Sure.
But anyway, it's a thing. Like it's not actually that big of a deal at the end of the day. I will play, I don't know, this week or next week or some point. And it's not like I haven't cancelled in the past either because I've been feeling well or I had a bad day at work or something. So, before we move on, I am in the middle of doing my table. So this is... I'm probably not going to make all of them as rough as this. So this is meant to be the road. Sorry, this is meant to be the road, George. And this will end up being the cement.
Yeah.
I also have some that are like this, which needs to be... I'm not going to make all of them as rough as this. I'm going to kind of mix it up because otherwise it'll be like just... It's going to look too dumb. I did this one and I was like, I really like this, but I think it's going to be too much if I do all of them like that. And then, of course, I have full tiles, which at the moment is just a tile with foam board stuck on top of it.
Nice.
Yeah. What I can do... I'm going to regret this. Oh, no, I don't regret it at all. So, yeah, it's turning out nicely so far. Obviously, I need to do painting and everything yet, but it's coming along. This was... something of a secret project initially. I mentioned it to the Patreons. My gaming group have no idea that I'm doing this at this point. I have not spoken about it publicly. But I wanted to build up like a modular, like a proper table system. At this stage, I'm using like a a city ruins board, and basically I'm putting the buildings, and everything else is just road. Where this will actually let me have a proper table that's in theory transportable. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Nice.
We are going to skip game talk. That was the plan last night. I didn't even plan a game talk because there was a lot of news, and I knew that I was going to take a while talking about my hobby as well. So,
we did have one, but it can wait.
Oh, did we? Oh, I didn't even say it.
Yeah, it was the thing that Ben posted about in our getting table chat we have with Ben and Michelle.
Oh yes. Well, we can talk about that next time.
Yeah, we'll definitely need to talk about that next time because I think it is. I think it's an important thing to talk about as the industry grows and expands. But in the meantime, though, we're just gonna jump straight to upcoming events.
Tournaments, demos, conventions, that kind of stuff.
And we're starting with socks.
Yep. So this Wednesday, the 6th of September, is the start of our official Dystopian Wars Escalation League, at Critical Hit Games in St. Petersburg, Florida. Points fleets will be 1,000 points, and then increasing by 250 points every couple of weeks up till we get to 2,000 points. So this is not only for those of us that are playing right now, but anybody that wants to stop by, come on in. I've got an extra fleet. My Warhost buddy also has an extra fleet. I actually have a couple of extra fleets if I can borrow my boys' stuff. So if you're looking to get into the game, stop on by. We're usually there about 5 o'clock on Wednesday.
Don't let him borrow them. Use the fleets. Go play yourselves.
Yes, we're trying to draw more players to come, but if you don't have a fleet right now, so you can get yours. A couple of players don't have theirs physically. I mean, they've ordered them. They just haven't gotten them yet. So
which happens, yeah.
Yep.
We also have the Tabletop Gaming Developers Australia has DevCon coming up, not DEFCON, DevCon, as in game development. 5th of October, it's happening. It's an Australian game developers conference, basically. It's all about board games. Most of it's board games and card games. Obviously, my contribution will be a miniature war game, but that's coming up on the 5th of October. PAX Australia starts the day after. It's from the 6th to the 8th. Saturday is almost completely sold out at this point. Like, dead serious. If you want to go on the Saturday, you need to buy your tickets now because there's not going to be anything left. They are like 90 to 95% sold out at this point on the Saturday. No warnings as yet about the Sunday or the Friday, but they will sell out. You're looking at a month before the event at this point. So, and then Northern King Con is coming up from the 24th to the 26th of November. That's in West Yorkshire, £55, which includes a hot lunch for Saturday and Sunday. As someone that has been to PAX many, many years, I can definitely tell you that you will spend more than that at other events because food is always stupidly overpriced at these things. Valhalla Hobby. I mentioned earlier that we were going to come back. So, Valhalla Hobby is a gaming store. ValhallaHobby.com. They will ship anywhere in the US. Actually, I'm pretty sure they'll sell internationally, but you'd have to check with them about postage prices on that. They have a huge range. Like, obviously, yes, they have your Warhammers, they have your Dungeons and Dragons, they have your regular card games, but they have a real passion for the niche side of this industry as well. You can find Bushido, you can find TT Combat, you can find War Cradle, you can find Moonstone. They have Black Site Studio stuff on the way. Like, if there is a game that you're interested in, they either will have it or can get it. This is not a matter of having to convince a store that they can order something in. Like, these guys regularly bring in the niche stuff as well. If you look at the website, there's a huge list of what they stock. Plus, their prices are very good.
Really good.
We ordered the stuff for socks as a gift recently. And
Yep.
it was already the cheapest place that we could get it from. And on top of it, like, they're doing a 5% discount for our listeners as well. So like they sponsor us. It's the only reason that we can afford to have gettingtabled.com. If you use Getting Tabled at the checkout, then you will get 5% off your order.
GT2305.
Sorry, yeah,
GT2305.
Yeah, I'm confusing it with the Toy Reel one for somebody else. GT2305. If you use that at checkout, it's 5% off. We make nothing from that. It's just it shows them that they are getting stuff from us.
5% off any order over $100.
Yes. Otherwise, if you enjoy what we do, obviously share it around, let people know. If you would like to support us, consider supporting us on patreon.com/gettingtabled. $2 a month gets you early access to pretty much everything that we do. All of the video content goes out afterwards. It all goes to Patreon first. You can find us at gettingtabled.com. If there's any stories that we've spoken about, that is where you will find the links for them. Facebook.com/gettingtabled for social media. We do have a Discord and a Twitter, or an X, I suppose. But it's Facebook that gets used primarily. YouTube.com/gettingtabled. Please subscribe. We have videos coming out every week. There's at least one video a week. Email us, gettingtabled@gmail.com. And Twitch. I am returning to Twitch. I am going to be live tomorrow night. I am doing a live playthrough of Cyberpunk. I have started a new character. So that's the content that you have coming. And it's going to be Monday night. I'm going to start with once or twice a week at this stage and just see how it goes. Last thing, I've mentioned a few times we have a friend of the podcast, Toy Reel. I have actually joined in and started doing a few videos for those guys. It's not connected to Getting Tabled directly. It's just like if you're into toys as well, they talk about like the history of a line, and it's not all just this is the latest thing. They talk about like the stuff they're actually passionate for and stuff. I put out a video last week of a new Beast Box line that I got into, which is literally 2-inch cubes that transform into animals. They're really cool. So check that out if you're into toys. Obviously don't if you're not into toys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matyas at soundimage.org.